And so I went to my manager and I said, okay, look, I want to become a tech lead. I know it's not going to happen now. I was very young, but I want a growth plan, right? And I got a very strange answer that said, well, let's talk in 10 years.
Should I be an architect or IC kind of the role, or should I be a manager?
Very funny, it's that once we start talking about it, most of the times people have their answer.
I want to know a little bit about the tech situations in Spain. Like a casual thing, how things work, what are the things that Spain is good at, especially when it's coming to tech, what kind of industry or the markets that Spain targets the most.
And it's a complicated topic, I think, mostly these days. I think things are...
Here we are live with another podcast with Byte Ventures. So today with us, we have Anemari from Spain. She has been a great tech lead mentor. She has been mentoring a lot of people, and we'll have an interesting conversation. So I'm your host. I'm Sitesh. I'm a software engineer. I try to meet with interesting people who are doing a dent, or who are putting a dent in the lives of people, software engineers, and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to go inside. Okay, welcome Anemari. Thank you so much for joining in today, all the way from Spain, all the way like ruining your morning schedule a little bit. So I hope it'll be worth your time. I'll try to make it the best as much as possible. So why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
Thank you so much for the invite, Sitesh. Definitely, no problem. It's good to start the morning with an interesting conversation. So a little bit about me. Yeah, I'm Anemari Fisher. I've been in tech for over 10 years now. I had different roles over the years. I started as a software developer. I was a tech lead in ThoughtWorks. I was a product director. But my main focus for the past 3 years has been working and supporting senior engineers and tech leads in getting to the next level in their careers and developing their soft skills, and training tech leads in building high-performing teams.
Awesome.
So that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think you have been sharing a lot of nuggets on the leadership, on the kind of things people should do to advance their careers, and that has been like absolutely clear-cut winners for someone who wants to like laser focus their growth after senior engineer and stuff like that. So let's talk a little bit about your technical career. I think you have more or less been in Spain and worked for a lot of companies. So can you just walk us through what happens? Like, how did you start? You started as a web developer, like any one of us, and then eventually went up to tech lead at ThoughtWorks, and you eventually became a career coach. So go with a little bit of description on each journey, what happened, and what do you want to share with that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm originally from Romania. I'm not from Spain. So I had what you would call like a straightforward path to software engineering. I liked it. I was good at it. I got my bachelor degree in computer science. I started working while I was in university because, as you know, in order to get a job, you need experience. And in order to get experience, you need a job. So, you start doing these internships unpaid, and it kind of becomes into a role. I started as working in university as a web developer, and then when I finished university, I start moving from company to company, doing a bit of Java, a little bit of different things. And very early in my career, I realized I wanted to be a tech lead. And the reason for it is because I realized I was way more interested in having results as a team, as a group. I was way more keen in solving teams' problems, understanding why are we doing the things we're doing, how can we do it better. And so then, I don't know, deep diving into the latest tool or the latest tech thing. So I realized that if I want to do that more and have that sort of impact, the best place would be in a tech lead role at that point. And so I went to my manager and I said, okay, look, I want to become a tech lead. I know it's not going to happen now. I was very young, but I want a growth plan, right? And I got a very strange answer that said, well, let's talk in 10 years. I didn't like the answer. I was like, okay, that's not good enough for me. And so what happened is I started looking for jobs. I found ThoughtWorks, which was my dream company at that time, which was opening an office in Spain. And so I did all the interviews with them, and 2 weeks later I moved to Spain to join ThoughtWorks. It was very unplanned. I didn't even tell my parents until one day before, so they don't turn me around. And yeah, it was a best decision that I've done in my career. I came here. ThoughtWorks created a growth plan for me, and so in 2 years I became a tech lead. And I loved everything about it, and I was so invested in it until I burned out in the role that I loved, because that's what usually happens. And so when I burned out, I took some time off, and when I left, what happened is that in my full-time role, I was doing a lot of support, like helping people prepare for their performance review. I was having mentee, coaches. I was working a lot with different organizations for underrepresented groups in tech to support them getting into tech or growing. And so I was doing a lot of that. And when I left, people were like, where are you? Like, we need more help, you know? So yeah, I mean, what started as a coffee, as a Zoom call, it transformed into a structural process that I was able to support more and more people. And yeah, in the meantime, I also jumped into the product director role at a startup. I really like their drive, their motivation, and I feel like we've done great work together there. But I always felt like I always liked the coming back to the working one-on-one with people, and tech leads, like tech leads, it's my sweet spot. Is I think it's one of the most complex role in tech. It's like just when we're jumping out of tech, to leadership, you're not sure exactly how to tackle it. You're a little bit lost. It's very complicated to switch out of the tech mind to the business, to the people mindset. And so, yeah, I really like the role, and I focused fully. I prefer to come back and focus fully on working with tech leads and training and coaching tech leads. So I think that's the long story.
Awesome. So you talked about a very interesting point. I think a lot of people, when they are growing from senior lead to the tech lead kind of roles, they always get confused about IC or leadership, right? So they're like, okay, should I be an architect or IC kind of role, or should I be a manager? Did you ever got to face that situation ever?
Well, so I think for me, like I was mentioning before, for me it was more of something that I was clear that I want to get into the role of tech leadership. I wasn't sure what that means. Like I had an idea of what a tech lead does, and being very technical was a part of it. So I didn't necessarily saw it as, okay, I have to choose now between tech and people or business side. So at that time, I didn't feel like I have to make a decision. I think the decision came later. Because once I got into the role, I realized very quickly that it's way more about people than tech. And actually, most tech problems are people problems if you dig deep enough. And so for me, that was the point when I realized, okay, I need to make sure I need to have clarity on what am I focusing on and how do I support the team to not lose track of the tech side and of the leadership side of the team. But you're continuously being continuously being a contributor in the team, right? So you're not letting go of the tech side. So yeah, I didn't have that challenge particularly because I never saw that big divide. But I do work with a lot of people daily that are going through this struggle, and they are wondering, okay, do I want to go this path or do I want to go this path? And what I've seen, very funny, it's that once we start talking about it, most of the times people have their answer. They're just afraid to accept it. So when they come to me and they're wondering, they have their answer. It's just like they're afraid of saying it or accepting it because you have to let go of something if you want to go towards something else because you get better at what you focus on. So yeah, it's a process of acceptance more than a decision.
Amazing. Like, yeah, that blows me up because whenever I come to a dilemma, I always know something from the internal of my heart that, okay, I want this, but the other reason is compelling enough to like not accept the option fully, right? So people say, like, I have seen this, some of my friends, and there are like a couple of web series where you flip a coin, you select one side as one option, the other side as other option, but you don't see the results. So once you flip, your heart will wish for one thing, and that is the one thing that you should go for. I was like, okay, that's pretty close. And I was blown by this idea. And when you said this, I was like, okay, then this is real. Everyone goes through that struggle. But okay.
I,
Nice.
on that note, I have like the same strategy with the flip of a coin, but I use it differently. It's like you flip it, you see the result, and usually you are either, let's say, you're disappointed or relieved. So it's not about the result that comes out, it's about how you feel about it. And that tells you more about, okay, where you are than anything else. So I think this is another way you can use it to kind of tell you something about yourself, like an external impulse. Well,
Awesome.
I love your idea a lot also. I'm going to use that also.
Yeah. I mean, I watched something like this on a web series, to be honest. So, but yeah, that has been a decider. When I am in deep dilemma, then I was like, okay, let me use this. So you'll get something out of it. So, okay, cool. We'll move back to your growth journey on your tech career journey and all stuff. So, but before that, I want to know a little bit about the tech situations in Spain. Like a casual thing, how things work, what are the things that Spain is good at, especially when it's coming to tech, what kind of industry or the markets that Spain targets the most.
Yeah, I mean, it's a complicated topic, I think, mostly these days. I think things are crazy, just like anywhere. The market, I don't know, at least my feeling, it's at least in Europe, that the market is going crazily complex. Let's put it like that. There's a lot of people on the market looking for the same jobs. And companies have full control over the process, right? The processes get longer, there is more ghosting happening. And so the reason that I'm saying this, it's because I think that also has an impact on what people are focusing on. It's not a matter about what I'm noticing, right? And the people that I'm working with, it's not so much about where do I want to grow, then where do I need to grow, right? So it becomes about, instead of thinking about, okay, my long-term goal or my long-term career, it comes more about making sure that I'm safe in my job, making sure that I'm still valid for the future, with the things that I know, with the technology that I know. And the reason that I'm saying this is because I see how it has an impact on the things that they are learning, right? So now machine learning, AI, it's a big thing. So people are wondering a lot if I should go towards that, if I should develop my skills. But at the same time, you see how companies, I don't know, at least here in Spain, but I guess it's everywhere, like most companies are still running on the basic processes, right? It's not like you can change your tech stack from one day to another. It's expensive. So you still need the day-to-day programming languages and everything to like Java, Scala, Kotlin. I see a lot that it's used. You still need that, right? Like, so the things that you've learned, and you still have to develop in them and keep up with the daily work. But at the same time, it's about the long term. And so, yeah, people are kind of in this dilemma on how to split their time, how to develop. I see a lot of companies putting efforts in developing these extra skills. So they offer like budgets for taking courses, or they bring in-house training. But yeah, it's a combination of that, I would say. But I would love to hear what's your take on it.
Yeah, I think the situation is similar everywhere. Like the initial situation that you told, like there is a lot of people on the market right now. Everyone is fighting for the same jobs. People are like targeting new technologies, kind of that. So it's kind of very similar, and it's the similar situation in India as well. So where I belong from. So yeah, I think I kind of agree to what you say. It's like the companies will have an eventual control on what the final say would be, right? And they have to invest. They have to. It's kind of like the wavy nature, I believe, right? It's like sometimes it's an employer's market and sometimes it's an employee's market. And it's an employer's market, like back in 2022, I think that was the craziest hiring time I've ever seen in my life. Like people have like, if you say you have just one offer, then you're like, oh, you must be a loser, probably like that, right? And now if you have one offer, you're probably a great guy in this market, right? So it's kind of that perspective, and I cannot agree more with you on that. So
well, I'm sorry to hear it's everywhere, but yeah, that was my feeling also.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it kind of is everywhere. People say it or not eventually, but it is everywhere. Like you see, the only thing that has spawned up is like a lot of phishing companies. Like they just open up a role, people apply, and they get a bunch of information, and they use that information to like open up another business or something sort of that. Because people are like so damn desperate of like, okay, I just want anything to hang on because of multiple reasons, like because of the economy, because of visa situations, work, and all stuff. So yeah, that kind of get very very tricky in that.
But that's a little bit scary, right? Like the spamming and the phishing. Every day I talk to people and they told me this story and stories, and it sounds crazy. Like they go to the length of setting up interviews, like fake interviews, or you're talking to some AI, or you're recording yourself. Like it's just, and you go to such lengths to put energy and focus until you actually realize, okay, it's a scam. So, and I also think they are becoming more and more harder to identify, that it's a scam, mostly for people that don't have so much experience maybe in the job market, or they're just trying to enter the tech space. The problem is also that it gives false hope. Like I see people how they are like excited, and it just crushed their spirits when they realize, okay, it's a scam. So yeah, it's a lot of damage, but I guess it comes with what you said. It's an opportunity that people are taking advantage of, and yeah, we'll just have to see how it develops.
Yeah, I just hope everything goes better. If not like 2022, but slightly better than what we have right now. So yeah, just hope for the best. Okay, moving on. Coming back to your topic. So the listeners, the audience who don't know, Anemari runs a very successful newsletter. I think one of the leadership newsletter that she talks about all the time, that okay, if you want to really be successful, I think I would give a huge shout out to her and her newsletter. I'll attach that in the description of this video. Whoever wants to follow in will definitely get to check out the amazing content that you put out. Okay, moving on. uh, let's talk a little bit about newsletter. So what exactly made you write one, or probably what made you start one? Because I think a lot of good folks have been writing, and it's the quality of articles that makes a whole lot of difference, right? So how did you start? What is your I think your frequency is like once a week at least. And then what are you trying to focus on, and what is the north star that you're chasing?
Yeah, so I started my newsletter as an intention to just document all these things that I keep talking about, that I feel like I'm keep repeating. I talk about them a lot on LinkedIn, but as you know, LinkedIn is just like the day is gone, the content is gone. It's not like living there. It's not like someone goes to your profile and reads your post. And so it was like a way for me to write the information in a way that it stays there, in a way that it's easily acceptable, in a way that I can point people to it as a reference for getting more information, and as a way to build trust with the people that I'm working with. I think it's about showing people that I know what I'm talking about. It's about showing people what I care about, right? Because there are different positions where you can place yourself when it comes to tech leadership. And so that was the initial goal of it. So it started kind of just like a channel for putting my ideas, for putting my knowledge, for putting my thoughts. It kind of transformed a little bit from that. Now I'm like, it's my newsletter Level Up as a tech lead is fully focused on the tech lead role. I feel there is not a lot of resources out there for tech leads. So the reason I'm saying this is because there are a lot of resources on engineering leadership in general. There's a lot of resources on tech leadership in general. But like what I've noticed is that tech leads kind of have to figure out what from there applies to them, what applies to a staff engineer, what applies to a engineering manager. And I agree there's a lot of overlap, right? Like that's a fact, but it's my intention was to be specific. Okay, this is what you should focus on. This is based on my my personal experience as a tech lead, but also after training, I think over 200 tech leads in the past 2 years. Like I've seen the things that they have in common. I've seen the things that they are different from company to company. So it's about expressing that deep dive into the role. And so It became now like an intention or a way for me to demystify this tech lead role and all the things that are around it, and keep talking about all of these different versions, right? Because I think every person that I talk to has their own definition on what a tech lead is. And it's important for us to understand, okay, how do those differences affect you as a tech lead, and how you can navigate it, knowing that there are so many differences based on the company you are in. So that's my main reason for writing. It turned out to be a very good tool, given that when I had to do, I just recently released my course on O'Reilly, which is soft skills for tech leads. So a lot of content that I had in my newsletter, I reuse it to record the course. And I'm currently writing my book with O'Reilly, which is also for tech leads. And the same happened, right? I realized a lot of the content, it's overlapping, it's the same, so it goes back into different shapes or different forms to provide people with information. Yeah.
Amazing. I was just browsing through your profile and came across this O'Reilly, the soft skills course I think you made on the tech leads. It was specifically focusing on that. I was like, okay, that's amazing, because O'Reilly is a very popular brand, and once you crack a deal with them, then that means you really have good content that they have accepted it, right? So
Yeah.
that is how. Okay, I think this brings a very interesting point. Like, if someone wants to start a course on that, so how does the process of talking to these big publishers look like? Can you just briefly describe that?
I mean, I can talk about my process,
Yeah, of
and what I
course.
know people like other authors or other people that are working with O'Reilly that I know that has been their process. So the first thing that I've seen is that they reach out to you. No one reaches. I didn't see a channel for you to reach out to them. So it's basically, for me, was like I said, constantly posting content on LinkedIn or newsletter, talking about the same thing, showing that I have knowledge, that I know what I'm talking about, showing interest and curiosity. And so they reached out to me, proposing me to do something. It started with a course. There is a long process of approval. So you make a proposal, you have to write a lot of things, giving a lot of information, proving they do their like checks, their background checks, and after that, they basically make you a deal. Once I started working with the course, and I think they liked what they saw, I got also the offer for the book. As again, I've seen there is a very big lack of like we have a gap in the market that is focusing on the tech lead role, and I think that's a key part also in working with O'Reilly. And what they shared with me is that you need to have like a topic, something different, something specific. That's what they liked about this particular tech lead role. It's about going into something that it's not so overly written about these days. So yeah, this was the
Okay.
process for me. I'm not sure if there's any other channels to work with them.
Yeah, I think that is fair, considering everyone has a different journey. But the whole thing is like the discovery. Like, someone has to discover you based on the quality of content that you put out, and then the initial conversations start. But that brings me to an important topic with the world of AI. I don't know, should I ask this, but I just had a curiosity, because whatever people write is nowadays being trained left, right, and center by these models, right? So how do you see this going forward? Because eventually the models will be very generic. It will be kind of superposing your views with someone else's views, and it'll be very hard for someone to discover you, like after 5 years, right? Suppose I'm using LLMs, I'm just typing out, okay, this is my query, but now you stand out because you are your authentic self. You are putting out deep content that is coming from your experience. But once it gets like mushy with different thing, it kind of gets very difficult for creators who are putting in so much of hard work. What do you think of that?
I mean, I think we're already seeing the impact of it. Definitely, I think with time, I think it's gonna get more interesting. I'm not sure where it's gonna go. I don't want to say bad, but maybe more interesting. The reason why I'm saying this is because people always have find a way to work around it. There's definitely creates more confusion, right? So it's really hard. I mean, now I think it's still at the point where you can spot it very easily, right? So
Yeah.
when you're looking at a post, a comment, like you easily realize when it's AI. And if you've been building a brand for a while and all of a sudden now you start using, like relying heavily on AI for building content, I mean, people will lose that trust as long as it took you to build it, it's going to be lost like that. Like I think people see right through that. But there are new accounts that start completely based on AI, right? And they build there. And like you said, it's this generality that the information contains. It kind of I often feel like when I'm reading AI, like I read something, but I'm not sure if I'm getting something. It's like there's a lot of words, but it's like I don't understand this. Am I missing something? It's like you're reading through a blank page. So the reason I'm saying this, I think people see through it, but at the same time, yes, it's very good at identifying what people like, what people engage with. So having these big quotes or topics, it gets easier and easier for someone to build a profile on that. But when it comes to, so here we're talking about personal branding, right? Like not about like a company, or we're talking about individuals. So I think when it comes to the individual, if you're gonna trust someone, if you're gonna work with someone, when it comes to a coaching, you're gonna spot that authenticity or AI based. Like I don't think you're gonna work with AI general, and at the end you're gonna meet that person and you're gonna see what checks and what not, because very quickly you can realize if it's them or not. So, and that's where the continuous trust builds. The moment when you realize, okay, this person is not, like obviously what they're saying, it's not their content, that trust is broken, and it's way harder to build trust after it's broken than starting from scratch. So yeah, I think it's just gonna get more interesting. I definitely think the tools are gonna get better. But at this point, at least for me, honestly, it's just useless. It helps create ideas, which I don't have a lack of. So that's one of the problems that people have. I have like 100 notes in my docs about ideas on what to write. It helps you like structure ideas, but you cannot use it fully. Like, I don't know if someone is so good at training it to learn their voice and everything. I didn't get to that point, but also I feel like it's losing substance a lot, right? Like that thing that you connect with people, that experience, it's gone. So I guess we'll have to see how good it gets.
Yeah, I think because the whole training cycle is because it's not taking the inputs of its own output, right? Because it was initially taking in all the best work out there, right? Like all the great contents, but now people are being stupid, right? Just they're doing something and then it is feeding to its own stupidity. Eventually it'll get dumber in some sense.
It's true, yeah.
Right? So we'll see how it goes. It's an interesting space for the content creation, because on the video space, I think they have done a huge leap with kind of like the amount of video that AI can produce, because it was like considerably low standard back in a year, but now I think you need to be really careful to watch it. Then you can understand that, okay, someone is not a person. So kind of that. But we'll see in content.
Well, that's scary.
Yeah, that's scary. So we'll see how it goes. But I think, yeah, the same thing of like it's feeding in the same output that it's generating kind of will mess up its algorithm. I feel like I'm not very into research of how this thing work, but we'll see. Time will tell. Okay.
We're definitely gonna leave it, so we might as well stay interested and curious.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. So I was browsing your profile and I found a very interesting thing, that you are kind of a country director of Spain Global Women Tech Leaders, I think.
Yeah.
So why don't you talk a little bit about what that role is, what you do as part of that?
Yeah. So I'm currently having that role. It's like a volunteer-based role. I work with a community of women, like Global Women Tech Leaders. So it's a community that it's all over across the board. The globe. That's the word that I was looking for. So we have a board of directors. We have advisor. We have like a big network. And the goal behind it is to support more women to go into tech leadership and actually stay there. So that's the mission. And we have different ways of doing that. Me as a country director in Spain, it's a lot about leading initiatives for visibility, for raising awareness on the importance of the topic, for discussing different topics like imposter syndrome or making your work visible, things that hold back usually women in tech in moving forward, or the fear of not knowing how they're gonna handle it. And it's also a part of building partnership with different conferences or different organizations that are also focused on these topics, into again working together through collaborations, events, participating, having visibility, and raising visibility and bringing visibility to other women tech leaders through these opportunities into growing their confidence and helping more get there and stay there for the long run. So yeah, that's what it's about. It's a community that I love working with. I've been working with them for a year. In different forms. What I love about it is, like I said, it's an international community. We do everything volunteer based. Like, we have people all over the world taking care of different things. We just released a platform where we have our members. We can keep track of people. And a very important part, which I love, is we have a mentoring program, a very well-established mentoring programs that we run twice a year, which puts a lot of effort in making sure you have the right match with the mentee. I'm actually a mentor there. Puts a lot of effort in making sure you are meeting, in making sure you're having useful conversations, in following up. So it's a lot of work, but we definitely believe in the mission of it. So we're sticking to it.
Amazing. So if someone wants to get in, is there a barrier, or it's an open community for people to get in pretty easily?
At this point, sorry. At this point, it's an open community. It's you just have to sign up. If you want to sign up as a mentor, there is a little bit of a process, because we do some background checks and we have some conversation with the mentors to make, more than anything, to make sure they have the experience, but also they have the availability to commit to what it means, because it's a very structured program. And so, if anyone is interested, I'm also going to share the link with you to join the community. If anyone is interested, just reach out to me and I'm more than happy to point you in the right direction.
Oh, awesome. And that'll be great to share the word, because of an amazing community. Gives a confidence to a lot of people who don't feel that they're ready yet, even if they're ready, right? The kind of the support people give, and especially to women in the leadership roles, because of parenthood and all stuff, people quit the leadership role. So it's a community that holds them together, and will be really helpful to share that across my audience. Cool. So coming back to your newsletter, your AF career coaching, right? Let's talk a little bit about that. So now you have mentorship as a country director there, as a community. Then you have your own leadership thing, and then you were previously working with, I think, CodeOp, right? So
I still work with them.
Oh, you still work with them? Okay. So how do you manage your time in this, and what do you suggest if someone wants to be in your foot sometimes in the future?
How do I manage my time? It's a work in progress, let's put it like that. I feel like some days I'm better than others. So the thing about my work these days is there's a lot of context switching. So yes, I'm working with CodeUp, which is a bootcamp that supports Women Plus to get in tech. So I provide coaching there, helping them get that first role in tech. At the same time, yes, I'm writing my newsletter, I'm writing my book, I'm posting on LinkedIn. I have my individual clients that I work with. I work with GWTL. It's different things. But so my secret is to somehow batch the work that it's the same together. I save one day just for working with GWTL, or I save one day. I try to kind of merge tasks that are the same together to not have so much context switching. When it comes to coaching, doing more than a proper coaching session a day, it's hard. So I try to have my coaching sessions in the morning to give my full attention and energy to the person that I'm working with. So I start the day with coaching sessions, or I end the day with a coaching session based on people availability. But I always try to make sure there is time in between and after, because I know that's very draining, and I want to make sure I show up for people to my best. And so it's a lot of planning in my calendar. Let's put it like that, right? Like before I start, at least 1 week before, 2 weeks before, I look at the calendar. I put all the tasks that I need to do in. Very often I'm surprised to see that not everything that I want to do fits in. if you're honest about how long it takes. But that's my strategy. So I plan my calendar. I have different availabilities. Like I have my Calendly with different types of events that they refer to different days. So it's been a lot of what I'm trying to say. It's been an iterative process to get to a structure that works. I often find myself overwhelmed, but at least at this point, after being through two burnouts at this point, I think I've learned where to stop and reflect. Okay, what is it that I'm working? What can I let go of my plate? What is my focus right now? And readjust. So it's a constant work in progress, but I think the key to anything, to growth, to managing your time, to development, it's reflection. So it's about taking some time, intentional time, to review, okay, what is it I'm doing? What do I want to change, and what can I do about it? Because we often get trapped in that moment. Oh, there's no choice, there's nothing, until we take some time to do that. And actually, it's one of the main things that I do with people that I work with. I give them, like, the coaching. It's a space where they can do that, right? It's a meeting in which you have to show up, if you want to show up for yourself. And I offer them the accountability to do that reflection and to follow up with the things that they want to do.
Amazing. I think I read your one-on-one sign-up form. So that was very funny. It was like, okay, we'll start. I'll ask you a bunch of questions. You have to answer. But if you can rant, that's okay too. That's allowed. It's kind of that was funny. So you give that space. But yeah.
Well, ranting, it's not a lot. Like, there's not a lot of spaces where you can rant these days. I have clients that talk for like half an hour. They just talk half an hour without stopping, and that's perfectly fine. Like, people need the space. They can use the space the way they want it, and I think ranting, it's a very great part of the process of moving forward. You have to complain and be frustrated about things before you can do something about it. And after the half an hour, we sit down and we see, okay, what can we do about it? But you have to get that frustration out somehow.
Okay. I have one final question on this topic. So when you're creating content, the major problem we face is, like, it's always a pyramid, right? There are a lot of people who are trying to learn the basic skills, and there are a fewer number of people who are trying to go to the top of the pyramid, right? So it's like very minor people who want to, like, upskill themselves, like they're pretty good and they're looking for very high quality content. But then once you target that market is a little bit lower than the base market, right? So do you have a juggle between these two situations?
I'm thinking. So, I mean, one of the things that I notice is that regardless on where you are on the pyramid of content building, the rules are kind of the same. That's one thing, right? So in order to grow on the pyramid, you kind of have to stick to the process, which is very hard. So consistency, keep on writing, which helps you get better at writing, stay on your niche, keep talking about the things that you are, that you know about. Like, all of these things, it sounds straightforward, but trust me, they are not. I don't know if you struggle with the same thing.
Yeah, definitely not.
See, so it sounds easy, but this is one thing that I've noticed. It stops people. They're like, yeah, whatever, consistency. If, like, these are the main thing. There is no secret. It's just that you do it or you don't do it. So I think these activities are also the one that gets you to the top of the pyramid. I think you get better. So I think you stop struggling with the consistency because you find like batch writing, or because you get better at it. You find your when is your flow to write. You get better at writing because the more you write, you get feedback. I mean, this is the part again of reflection. It's about not just doing something over and over, but it's about at some time stopping, asking people what do they think about accounting, seeing if they engage with it, getting maybe someone that has experience and give you some like exact feedback on what that is. Like for me, working with a marketing friend, it's a huge change on my content because you just have someone objective that looks at it and it can tell you their perspective. So I think it's a matter of that. I think in order to move to the next step, that niching gets even harder. Like you have to be very clear if you want to get into that top, like you said, that space where you're talking about something specific, you're going in depth. Yes, your audience is gonna reduce. That's for certain, right? But you're gonna have more targeted content for actually helping someone at a certain stage. So I think it's about making peace with that and having clarity on who do you wanna get to, and sticking to that niching strategy and what you're talking about, knowing that okay, it's not gonna reach a lot of people because the interest is somewhere else, but it's about helping that particular or solving that particular kind of problem. So yeah, I think it's a lot of work with yourself to get there.
Okay, amazing. I think that's all I had for you. And thank you so much for joining in. Feel free to have, shoot me any questions if you have. Otherwise, it was a great time spending with you. So,
I have a question. Very
yeah,
curious.
go
I
for
mean,
it.
probably you've answered this before, but I would love to hear your motivation behind having these conversations. I also know it takes a lot of time. I can only imagine the effort you're putting in. So I'm curious, what's your motivation behind it?
Yeah, there are a couple of interesting motivation. The first is meeting new people. So meeting people with a purpose seems very transactional, right? In this world, when you reach out to people, it's always, in most cases, you need some kind of help, right? You need referrals, you need some kind of reviews on something. But in this way, I'm trying to reach out to people very organically. It's not like I got through a course or something like that, but I discovered the quality of content of you or whoever I have interviewed with is very close to what I think of them. It's kind of like I set them at a very high bar, and it is a kind of a non-transactional way for me to like start the interaction, break the ice, kind of that. And the secondly, I think it opens up a lot of new doors, not just for me, but for people who are in the similar position, but are not able to reach out to people. Like there are so many people who want to talk to and they just can't because it takes too much effort to write a cold email, too much effort to follow up and all stuff. So I mean, so it kind of adds value to me as well as to my followers is the second reason. And the third reason is getting to know an amazing insight or a motivation of other one, because everyone is being driven, right? So whoever I'm meeting is gifted in some way or the other. They are like they're very consistent, or they're very hardworking, or they're very smart in such that there is something that makes them stand out from the rest of the crowd. And this is like my way of connecting and respecting that part. So yeah.
Whoa, that's I have to say, I don't know if you prepared that answer, but it sounds lovely. Honestly, I think you should keep at it. I think you're definitely doing a great job. I've seen the conversations you had with other people, and I have to say, it was a pleasure for me having this conversation. I felt really listened to, and I love the topics that we went into. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much again. Hopefully, we'll have a part two of this sometimes later
For
once
sure.
your book is out. So, all the best for your book, all the best for your new course on O'Reilly. I'll definitely recommend people to check it out. I think a lot of libraries in the US gives open access to O'Reilly, so
Yeah,
that'll help a lot of new people to just check out if they don't want to buy it right away. So, definitely all the
for
best,
sure.
and thank you so much for doing whatever you're doing, impacting people one at a time. Amazing job. Love it. Thank you so much again.